the exam. So why? Hindi sila na, they do not trust the school where these nurses came from.
Labor Secretary Bebot Bello is now pushing for the abolition of professional licensure exams in the country. The Labor Secretary argued that nursing graduates have already gone through several exams during their years in college.
Sa health professionals like nurses, very critical na walang dapat room para sa pagkakamali.
Aside from health workers, Bello also believes that board exams for dentists, engineers, and even bar exams for aspiring lawyers should be ditched.
I think we should maintain the bar examinations so that we can sift those who are competent considering the nature of the legal profession.
Board exams are required for college graduates to be able to work in particular fields such as nursing or engineering. But will there be a difference in training and skills if board exams are abolished? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this weekend edition of The Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao. And of course, with us online, Ana Marie Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Luchi Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5. Ladies, happy weekend.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi. Hello, Ed.
Talagang weekend mode na talaga,
my head is on the weekend already.
Weekend mode na talaga. Sige. O sige, di bale, 3 araw na lang, lunes na tayo ulit. So we'll be back to normal soon. Anyway, I suppose we should bring in our guest tonight, si retired Justice Antonio Carpio. Sir, welcome back to the Chiefs.
Good evening, sir.
For inviting me.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. Yes, sir.
Thank you also.
Yes, sir. Sir, well, we've been seeing an escalation, you might say, of the words among the members of the Philippine team in the past few days. We had Justice Hardalesa here in this program a couple of days ago, and then yesterday you had a column again with the Philippine Daily Inquirer about Ito Aba. So mukhang lalo pang umiinit. I'm just wondering lang, of course, we want to go into the issues, but I'm also wondering at the same time, all these arguments being made out in the open, could they have any effect on any future moves that the government or the Philippines will be making in staking its claim on the West Philippine Sea? Baka naman maka-apekto to.
No, it will not affect, but if we look at the deficiencies, the missteps that we've made, we can improve next time.
Mm-hmm. Improve on what? What do you mean?
If we go to arbitration next time, we will do it much better.
Could you drill down on that, sir? Do it much better.
Yes.
Well, you did make some major points in your columns. Let's be a bit more specific this time. What improvements are you looking at or looking for?
Well, the team must be on the same page. Of course, there will be dissents, but once the president makes a decision, everybody should toe the line. And in this case, the president made a decision that the 15 paragraphs on Ito Aba should be retained, which means that we presented to the tribunal 15 paragraphs all on Ito Aba. And we should have expected the tribunal to ask our lawyers questions on those 15 paragraphs. But the Solicitor General instructed our lawyers not to answer anything on Ito Aba. So that goes against the instruction of the president. When the president said, include those 15 paragraphs in the memorial, it carries with it the instruction, answer also questions on those 15 paragraphs if there are questions from the tribunal. So when the Solicitor General said, do not answer questions, he was in effect countermanding the order of the president. And this should not happen again because we nearly lost because of those things. Thank you.
On the other hand, he was saying that actually, sir, sobrang diametrically opposed yung position yun, no? Because you're saying that it would have been legal suicide to not include Ito Aba. No? On the other hand, Soljen Libay is of the other opinion. No? In fact, the almost opposite opinion that we should not touch that that issue at all.
Well, all our foreign lawyers were unanimous to a man that we should answer. We should include Ito Aba in the discussion in our memorial, and we should answer all the questions on Ito Aba. Because Ito Aba is our largest island in the Spratlys. And if Ito Aba generates an EEZ,
Yes.
then there will be an overlap with the EEZ of Palawan,
Palawan.
because the distance between the two is just a little bit over 200 nautical miles. Once there is an overlap, the tribunal would have no jurisdiction.
So patay
That
na
means the
kaagad
case will
yung
be there.
case.
Yes.
But
It's a
what
knockout
if it's
issue.
just a rock? What if it's just a rock?
If
Which
it's
is what
just a rock, it's
so
just,
then,
it will be entitled
Justice
only to
Padilla-
12 nautical miles. So there is no overlap. Our position, the position of our lawyers, was that it's just a rock. But you have to discuss it because the tribunal is mandated to look into its geologic feature. That is the task of the tribunal, because the rules of arbitration says if a party doesn't appear, then the tribunal must determine whether the case of, for example, the Philippines is meritorious in fact and in law.
Okay.
They have to ask the questions that China would have asked had it been present. And the number one question is whether Ito Aba is habitable to generate an EEZ. And if it's
Right.
habitable, then the case will be dismissed because
Yes.
in 2006, China made a reservation in case of overlapping EEZ, it will not be subject to compulsory arbitration. So it was very critical. And you can see that from the narration of Paul Reichler. So we had to answer. If you do not answer, the tribunal will say, well, you don't want us to ask those questions, but that's our duty. So you're not allowing us to perform our duty, we'll just dismiss the case. That's what they will do.
Okay, did they in fact ask the question? I just
Yes,
wonder.
they asked. In fact, they emailed the question before the last hearing. These are the questions on Ito Aba. Kindly answer. And the Solicitor General Hilbay emailed our lawyers, do not answer those questions.
Justice, we talked to Justice Cardellesa earlier this week, and he said I think he also took offense that you depicted former President Noynoy Aquino Dawa in a less than favorable light, and he can no longer answer the column. And we just want your comment on that. Na it looked like Noynoy Daw didn't have control over the Philippine team, didn't know what was going on.
Well, I said that the arbitration is the most enduring legacy of President Aquino. It took courage and wisdom to file the case. But his team was divided, and it made it difficult for him because there were two factions, and that made it difficult for him to make the decisions. But he made the right decisions. And that's why I said we owe an eternal debt of gratitude. But
Actually, that was what they
you are a
objected to
journalist,
fiercely,
you have to state the facts. You cannot make a press release. You have to state the facts. We credit him for those brave acts of filing the case, but it was not a walk in the park. It wasn't a bed of roses. It was a struggle every step of the way. And you have to tell it the way it happened.
Yes, but they're saying, well, Soljan Hilbay and also Justice Cardellesa were saying that you made it appear like, it was a bitter feud when it's actually just normal differences of opinion. That's one. They even went as far as, well, see, Soljan Hilbay in particular, went as far as saying that you were not really even a member of the team, and in effect implying that you would have been in no position to know what was going on inside the team.
Well, first of all, there was a dispute that could cause the dismissal of the case. That's not an ordinary dispute. That's not my opinion alone. That's also the opinion of the foreign lawyers. It was a serious dispute that could determine the success or failure of the case. Very important dispute. Second, Hilbay himself came to me on his own, asked for a meeting with me. he came to
So
me
you
to
said
ask
you
for
want to
a meeting with me for my opinion. And he said, I'm going to instruct Paul Reichler to formally inform the tribunal not to rule on Ito Aba. In other words, he was telling the tribunal, do not do your duty to examine whether Ito Aba can generate an EEZ or not. That was the effect. And you know that what the tribunal will do? The tribunal will throw away the case.
Yes, sir.
And I told him right there when he told me that, I said, if you do that, I will fight you in public. I will go around the country and denounce you because I knew the consequence. If you tell the tribunal, do not rule on Ito Aba, you're telling the tribunal, do not do your duty.
Yes, sir.
Because
yes, sir.
the duty of the tribunal was to look into its geologic feature, whether it could generate an EEZ that will overlap with the EEZ of Palawan. If there's an overlap, they do not have any jurisdiction.
Yes, sir. You did mention that in your column yesterday, but I do want to ask you about this. Kasi your response to Soljan Hilbay's request or remark to you was quite surprisingly direct and you might even say antagonistic at that particular point. I'm just wondering,
Yes.
what's the context here? Was there a discussion first, a civil discussion first, before it heated up into
No,
something?
he came to me and informed me that I'm going to inform Paul Reichler I'm going to instruct Paul Reichler to inform the tribunal not to rule on Ito Aba. For me, it rang a bell right away. This is an alarm. This
An
will
alarm bell.
result in the dismissal of the case. If you know law of the sea, you would say you are suicidal. You're going to lose the case if you do that. For us who understand this, even someone with a basic knowledge of law of the sea, you do not do that. The moment you do that, you're throwing away the case. And that's exactly what Paul Reichler said when he narrated what happened. So for me, how can a Solicitor General do this to his country?
So what do you read of his understanding of Ito Aba? I mean, and this includes Justice Hardalesa because Justice Hardalesa was also doggedly defending their stand about Ito Aba not being included. No, what was it? You know, I know that that's not your position, but what exactly were their stated reasons for
Or the arguments
not
that
wanting
were
to
presented.
include? Yeah.
Well, they should explain it to you because I don't know exactly why we're doing it. There was no rhyme or reason at all.
Yes, sir.
It was suicidal. Even our
Did we
lawyers
stand
there.
to lose it? Did we stand to
Yes,
lose Ito
of course.
Aba? No, Ito
Yes.
Aba only.
Yes.
No, did it
at the
risk
very
the
least-
entire case?
At the very,
It put
because
at
you
risk.
divide the Philippines EZ into two sectors. We have the southern sector that's in Palawan and the northern sector that's in Luzon. At the very least, we will lose the southern sector. And that's where the gas is located. You're talking
Right.
here of Reed
there.
Bank. Because
Yes.
if the case is dismissed as to the southern sector, then
Yes.
there is no ruling that we own the gas in Reed Bank. We will be forced to go into joint development with China. That was the thrust. If there is no ruling that we own the gas, then we will be forced to talk to China to jointly develop.
On the contrary, they were saying that you were actually pushing for the joint exploration, which was the
You know
reason
what,
why you wanted
you know-
Ito Aba included.
You know what?
Or at
Paul
least that
Reichler-
was the implication, okay? He may not have said it that way.
You know what Paul Reichler said about that? Because because Hilbay was saying that on the sly, our foreign lawyers wanted to inject joint development. And Reichler said that's a complete fabrication. Why? Well, Marites Vitog made a check. The term joint development never appeared in the 300-page memorial of the Philippines. It never appeared in any of the oral arguments. It never appeared in any of the written questions of the judges. It never appeared in the written answers of our lawyers. And I checked just last week the transcript of the oral arguments in the last 3 days. That was November, the entire November hearing. not a word about joint development. The judges never asked any question on joint development. Our lawyers never mentioned it. Nobody mentioned joint development. You know why? Because China defines joint development as this. You can go to their website in their Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and China says joint development means we own the resources, but we allow other countries to jointly develop with us. The premise of China's joint development is they own the resources. So we can never agree on joint development under that premise. And I said, we cannot talk about joint development because precisely we went to the tribunal to ask the tribunal to rule who owns the gas. And the moment you talk of joint development, you agree that there is overlapping exclusive economic zone.
Yes.
That's why you jointly develop. And the moment there is overlapping exclusive economic zone, the case is dismissed. You accept, you admit that there is no jurisdiction by the tribunal. So very dangerous to agree on joint development. That's why our lawyers never mention joint development, because it's a trap. You will be admitting that China also has sovereign rights. That's why you're jointly developing. But the moment you admit that, then there is a overlapping EEZ. The tribunal has no jurisdiction. It will have to dismiss the case. When do we talk of joint development? Never. Because joint development, according to China, means they own the resources. That's why I'm using the term cooperation agreement. If you look at the Memorandum of Understanding and the terms of reference that we signed in 2018 and 2019 with China, it's all about the two countries cooperating to exploit gas in accordance with the service contract system of the Philippine government. Why service contract system of the Philippine government? Because under our service contract, if you look at the first whereas clause of our service contract, it says that whereas the oil and gas belong to the Philippine government. Another provision, this contract shall be governed by Philippine law. So those two pillars would mean that China is accepting the arbitral award. That's the implication. That's why when I was presented the MOU and TOR, I said, we have to structure it in such a way it will be under our service contract system. And that's the way it happened. And I was so happy that China signed, but there was supposed to be a third agreement, the commercial agreement between Forum Energy and Sinuk, China National Offshore Company. But at that point, China said, let's remove this clause that Philippines will govern. So that's a deal breaker. We all said that cannot be done. I mean, we cannot allow that because that will mean we're giving up half of our sovereign rights there. So that is why we don't use the term joint development. I use cooperation agreement because joint development has a special meaning with the Chinese. It means they own the resources and you are invited to jointly develop. And remember, nobody talk about joint development during the arbitral proceedings.
Yes, sir. Well, sir, we certainly... Amy, go ahead.
No, lilipat na ako ng topic. Sige, if you're still on,
sige. Diyan pa rin ako, sir, of course, we will ask Soljan Hilbay about this. We'll try to guest him next week. Pero po, I'm curious pa rin about that December 2014 discussion between you and him. How did he defend and present his position to you in 2014? We'd like to know how he tried to push that
He asked for a meeting. He called up,
yes,
he asked for a meeting, because I had a legal researcher, lawyer, who used to work for me and who went to the Solicitor General's office. And that guy was with us, the three of us. And when we sat down, Hilbay said, Justice, I'm going to instruct Paul Reichler to formally inform the tribunal not to rule on ito aba. And you know, that really got me. I said, I almost, that lawyer who was with us saw me rise because I said, this will mean the dismissal of the case. I said, you do that, I will I will fight you in public. I will go around the country to denounce you. I know.
Yes,
That will happen.
Yes, sir.
And
But-
precisely
yes,
exactly
sir.
the same reaction of our lawyers at The Hague
Yes, sir.
when Hilbay instructed our lawyers not to answer the questions of the tribunal on Ituaba. You will lose the case.
Yes, sir. But certainly he would have argued this point with you and defended this point. I was wondering lang how he presented his arguments to you.
No, he did not present it anymore because of my reply. But I don't know. You can ask him why he thought of that. But every lawyer in that meeting, the night before the hearing, was against it, knew exactly the consequence. You know, I had dinner with them after that first night. And they said, we have built this reputation in the international legal community. And for us not to answer those questions, critical questions, everybody will say we threw away the case. We sold out to China. And I agree with them. And one of them is Philip Sands. And he won the Booker Prize on nonfiction a few years ago of UK. A very prestigious award. These are, these are people who have developed reputations of uprightness, and they cannot afford to do this because everybody would know they throw away the case.
Well, actually, if I have to quote his statement, Soljan Hilbay said, the truth is, and this is me quoting, the Ito-Aba issue was simply a proxy for the debate over joint development. In other words, that was how he
Yes, he
viewed
can
it,
say
that
whatever
we were
he
just-
say, but if you read the decision on the award of on jurisdiction and on the final award, it's all about Ito-Aba. Ito-Aba was critical because the moment Ito-Aba is determined to be habitable with an EEZ, then the case will be dismissed. We'll be lucky if only the southern sector will be dismissed. It could affect also the northern sector because you instruct the lawyers not to answer. The tribunal will get mad at you. You're preventing them from doing their duty.
You're saying it's like
If I were
defaulting.
the
It's
judge,
defaulting
if I were a
on-
judge, I would dismiss the case because I am tasked under the terms of the arbitration rule to determine the status of the largest feature there. And if you tell me don't make that determination, I'll throw away the case.
Okay. Well, sir, I can see that Ami is really itching to ask you a question probably about politics.
change topic.
But sir, we just need to go into a break. We'd like for you to stay with us. We're just going to a very, very short break, and then Ami will shift gears. So, sir, if you don't mind, please stay with us. We'll just go into a break, so please stay with us. Welcome back to Chiefs here in One News, and still with us is retired Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Sir, thank you for joining us. And Ami, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay, Justice, with your indulgence, I have a legal and political question because this is what the issue is raging now. The president is planning, well, he says he's open to run for vice president in 2022. And their main argument is wala naman daw the constitutional prohibition
Wala
daw is
explicit,
on re-election, but not the potential succession. So we'd like to get your views on this. Is it possible, because Christian Monsod is saying this is circumventing the prohibition by going through the back door?
Okay, you asked the political and legal implication.
Yes.
I'll give you the political implication first. Sara Duterte said, I will not run for president if my father will run for vice president. And it looks like Sara will run.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And that means President Duterte will not run for vice because
Yes, sir. Sir, but
Sara will
that's
not
assuming
run.
they don't change their minds, sir. That's assuming they don't change their
no, I
minds.
mean, I'm taking their word for this. And therefore, this is just a drama. But that's the political side.
Okay.
Let me answer the legal side. Well, I think the Supreme Court should decide this because there are good arguments on both sides. But if you ask my personal opinion, I would say that the Constitution is clear. You look at the text. No president shall run for any re-election. Any re-election means the succeeding re-election or subsequent, any election in the future. So in other words, a president has only one term. That's it. But it only speaks of election, re-election. It does not speak of succession. So my personal opinion is that he can run. But it's only my personal opinion. And I would like this to be brought to the Supreme Court so that we can discuss it, will enrich jurisprudence.
Pero bago siya makasucceed, kailangan mo na siyang mag-run. So, I mean, you know, for you to succeed to the presidency,
Right now,
you have to run first
right
to be
now it's
re-elected.
premature to file a case because
Yes, sir.
he may not run, and the Supreme Court will throw it away because he's not running. He's not yet running. Only when he files his certificate of candidacy can you go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
First, you have to ask ruling from the COMELEC to disallow him from running, and then you go to the Supreme Court. But now it's just an academic discussion.
Yes, sir. Sir, sabi nga ninyo po, at least from your end, legally, he can run. But of course, the question legally then is, can he stay if he wins?
Can he?
Can he stay if he wins? Can he stay in office? I mean, iba yung can he run di ba? Iba yung he can run, like you said. Pero the question, of course, the next question is, could it be constitutional for him to...
If he actually files a certificate of candidacy, I think many lawyers will bring the case eventually to the Supreme Court.
And how quickly kaya can the Supreme Court act on it? Can we depend on the Supreme Court to act on it at least before election day?
Well, you have to start at the COMELEC,
Yeah.
and COMELEC can delay it. It may take time. So it could be decided during the campaign period or even after. Remember the...
Paano pag nanalo na?
Yeah, so
at nakaupo
clearly
na.
it's people's will.
Well, remember what in the case of Grace Poe, the Supreme Court said she can run. If she wins, then you can question her qualifications. That's the ruling.
Impeach.
In which case, that would be
No,
co-warranto?
you can go to court and question whether he's qualified or not
qualified.
after he wins, he or she wins. That was the ruling. And I dissented there. I did not dissent, I inhibited, but in the set, I, of course, dissented.
Kasi sir, people are looking back to the case of Joseph Estrada in 2010. There was a case filed against him, umabot sa Supreme Court, but in the end, from our understanding, the Supreme Court didn't bother to finish the case because it was already moot.
It was moot already because the election was over. He lost.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But
And
it would have been...
we just dismissed it for being academic.
Yes, sir. But that would have set a precedent or jurisprudence, I suppose, if there
Yes,
was a
that should
decision.
have set the jurisprudence.
Nabitin naman kami
It's
sa
not
sagot
really.
nyo. So nabitin kami sa sagot nyo.
Actually, you know, my take here, this is all drama because I don't think the president will run for vice president.
Well, he did say naman na it's posturing lang daw para daw
Yeah.
hindi magiging lame duck.
He actually
that
said it's
recently,
just
quite
posturing. I don't want to be a lame duck. And
Yes.
you have Sarah saying, I will not run if my father will run.
Okay. Meanwhile, Justice, kumusta naman po yung isang bayan? Parang medyo nahihirapan to come up with a common opposition candidate.
Well, we are organizing. We are organizing chapters in provinces and cities, municipalities. Abroad, we have chapters in Asia, Europe, and in North America. And we are getting more organizations joining us. And we are now interviewing, we'll be interviewing soon the senatorial candidates.
But what we're seeing is a third force emerging. Neither opposition daw, neither pro-administration. Particularly Senator Lacson, si Mayor Isko Moreno. What do you think, how will this affect the chances of the opposition as represented by Isang Bayan?
Well, the rationale behind Isambayan is that if the opposition will have only one slate, a unity ticket, the opposition will surely win. But if the opposition has two or more candidates, it will likely lose. Because you look at the figures, Duterte did not get majority. Those who voted against
34%.
Duterte belong to the majority. And I think that will even be more applicable to Sara. So if the opposition can only put up one candidate, they will win.
But you know, I guess the question is how do you get everybody in the opposition behind you to make sure that you only have one candidate precisely? That's your biggest challenge. No? And your initial list of nominees seems to have been met with, it was lackluster by,
Well,
public
those who declined, actually, like for example, Vilma, had in mind to run for the Senate. And Grace po could be for vice president, but she, initially when we talked to her, she said, I'm not interested at all. But for us, there's nothing wrong if you show interest. I mean, if you are nominated, like VP Lenny, she was nominated, and we asked her, would you like to join the process? She said, you can put my name there, but I have not decided yet.
Well, sir, it's been a month almost. It's almost been a month since you launched your consultation process, especially online. I'm wondering how it's going. Kamusta na po yung feedback and how much engagement are you getting?
Well, we're talking again to the candidates. We will start our interviews with the senators, and we are of course organizing also because we need to organize. And because of COVID, it's not easy to organize. But we have a big group already. We have at least 40 organizations who have joined the coalition. From the left to the right, legal left to the right, legal right, and everybody in between. And we continue to grow. And I think we just have to organize and get more people. Because at the end of the day, it's the numbers that will count.
Yes, sir. Sir, if I may ask you, could this possibly be as well a question or a matter of, I don't know if this is the right word, a question or a matter of branding? I ask that because apparently there are candidates out there as well for president or potential candidates for president who might be allied or associated with your group, but they don't want to be identified as opposition specifically. they might be identified lang, or they might prefer to be identified lang as alternatives to the administration. Kumbaga, they're not administration, but they don't want to be put on the other side of the fence, the opposition, kumbaga. I don't know how your dynamics are with regard to these candidates. For example, Isko Moreno and Ping Lacson.
Well, actually, the candidates are reluctant to come out openly to say, I'm running for president, because they're afraid they will be attacked by the trolls. The moment you declare to run against Sara, then the trolls will descend on you. And they don't want that to happen early, so they'll probably just announce that they're running in October when they file their certificates of candidacy.
Well, sir, can you tell us about this preferential survey that Isambayan supposedly asked a survey firm to conduct? What is that about? What exactly is a preferential survey?
Because before we said that we will conduct an online survey. It's just like a primary, you can vote online, but it's difficult because to check on who is that voter, to check on data, you have to ask for data, his email, his address, but you get hacked. So we said we will just conduct a traditional survey.
Actual survey, yeah.
By Pulse Asia, SWS, to find out the preference of people. But it's only one of the criteria, because one criteria will be your ability to mount a nationwide campaign to win. And another one, of course, your integrity, your competence, your platform or vision for the country. So it's just one of the criteria that we will consider, your capability to mount a nationwide campaign.
Justice, what if the administration slate itself is divided? Kasi today, in-expel nila Pacquiao sila Cusi. And Sara Duterte, she also has a falling out with Pantaleon Alvarez, who is pro-administration. And in fact, all of Sara's candidates lost in 2019 to the candidates of Alvarez. So does that ease the pressure on the opposition to fill the common candidate? Kung ganong hiwa-hiwalay din sila.
Yes, definitely they have their problems also. But, they said it's always the economy. It's the economy that will make or unmake the administration candidate or whoever the administration supports. And the economy is very bad. So I always tell people this is an election for the opposition to lose. Because historically, if the economy is bad, and this is the worst economic situation ever since the end of the war, since we gained our independence. And so naturally, the opposition should have the advantage here.
Yes, sir. But sir, the president's numbers, despite the economy, the president's numbers are not getting any significant drop compared to the economy's numbers. We're wondering lang kung well, sabihin nga nating Teflon, hindi dumidikit. Paano kung ganun?
Well, you can look at the numbers of his candidate. And the numbers of his candidate are not the same as the numbers of his candidate, are not the same as his numbers. So he cannot transfer his popularity to his candidate.
Who do you think would be the most unbeatable administration candidate at this point? I mean, some names are cropping up already. There's, of course, Sara Duterte. Then there's Bongo. There's Manny Pacquiao. I mean, as of now, at least, it's.
Well, in the surveys, it's Sara who is leading. In the surveys, it's Sara who is leading.
And yeah, go ahead, Ami.
Nalilipat na naman ako. Sige, tuloy mo na.
Go ahead. Shift.
We opened this session with the issue on the
The licensure exams.
proposal to do away with professional licensure examinations.
Including the bar.
Including the bar.
Including the bar.
What do you think of this? Because I know in UP there has always been this sense na huwag na nga tayo mag-bar exam. Total, we know naman kung who is doing well here. After 8 years, we know who are the top students.
Yayabang talaga ng mga taga-UP.
Yan ang taga-UP lang. Kaya alam ko, tamad na tamad mag-review doon for bar exams. What do you think of this proposal, Justice?
Well, I think there should be an exam because not all the schools are of the same quality. But there's another proposal that it should be pass or fail.
Meaning, wala nang score, wala nang ranking.
All or nothing lang siya.
Wala nang ranking.
Walang grade.
In the US,
Okay,
it's
walang
pass or
grade.
fail.
Okay.
Ganun ba? How does that work exactly?
Yeah.
I mean, how does it work? Parang yung score, ganun lang. One
Yeah.
question and pass or fail lang. Ganun. Wala nang grade.
Well, they have
Kasi
a cut-off
ngayon may
point.
grade eh.
No,
Yeah.
they have a grade also, but they will just announce whether you pass or you fail.
They don't release the percentage, kumbaga.
Hindi na
Pwede
ranking. Tama.
Again, but there's no more
Sila-
competition for the top 10 or there are no bragging rights that you made it to the top
Within the
10.
school na lang yung ranking, di ba? Kung ano yung performance mo.
Yes, if you have 100% passing, then that's what you can brag about.
Are there countries, sir? Are there other countries or are there countries in the world that do not have bar exams for lawyers?
Well, most countries have qualification requirements, usually an examination. In UK, they don't have the one that's nationwide. You can be certified by a law office, but the trend is an examination.
Pero pass or fail.
Yes,
fail lang.
pass or fail. That's also the majority. It's only in the Philippines where we popularize, we give too much publicity to the top 10.
To shift to that kind of pass or fail test, do you need a law or what do you need to amend?
Well, the Supreme Court can do that. I mean,
Supreme Court.
yes, can decide on that.
Do you need a petition o motu proprio? Pwede kayo? Pwede ang Supreme Court?
Well, people can, the IBP or any lawyer can petition. It's up really to the Supreme Court and bank to decide. Because there are some justices who believe that maybe it's better to have a pass or fail.
Pass or fail. Okay.
Why, sir? In which
Sir.
case, what would be the advantage or disadvantage of having a pass or fail versus having all this hoopla
Ranking.
every time there's a release of the bar exams? Well, I don't know if it is hoopla, but it does seem that way sometimes.
Yeah, because, well, many reasons. They say that it's not really a gauge of how well you will perform later on. But just too many reasons. But I don't know, here in the Philippines, whether it's law or medicine or architecture, engineering, we always publish the top 10.
Score.
Baka naman it's a way to push up the salaries of, I mean, surely, diba? Tumataas yung value mo pagka nasa top 10 ka or
Tapos
whatever.
Well,
mag-uunahan
it's
sila
also
for you. diba?
advertisement for schools.
Yes.
If their graduate make it to the top 10, they always have banners or advertisements.
Yeah, and the law
Boils down to economics, ha?
and the law officers, I suppose, are also proud when they're able to bag the number one, number two,
Top-notchers.
top-notchers.
Yeah.
Kasi bragging rights din siya.
Sir, let me just circle back to the election, I mean, the politics. When we had Senator Ping Lacson guest here, he expressed his having felt offended by your brushing him off
Oh, yes,
as
yes, sir.
hindi katanggap-tanggap. And then after that, you asked him daw to be part of the screening committee or
The Senate,
some
the
committee,
Senate lineup as well.
yeah, and even the Senate lineup. Would you care to respond to that?
Well, I said that because many of us have petitioned the Supreme Court to invalidate the anti-terror law.
Hmm.
And he is the principal author of the anti-terror law. And I said, I mean, we have opposed that anti-terror law because it's so basic. It suppresses freedom of expression. Journalists like you will be in danger. So-
He says he has no issue with that. He totally understands that.
So
That
I said, well, I was expressing our opinion that we will be looking at the track record. I mean,
yes.
would you want a person who sponsored such a law? So I said, okay, he can join, but there are just too many of us. But we invited him to be a speaker in a forum on national security, and he declined. And I said he can even apply. I mean, if he's nominated, we can also consider, because I said we will abide by whatever decision the Supreme Court makes. If the Supreme Court invalidates the law, he has to respect that. If the Supreme Court upholds the law, we will respect it. So we have a neutral decision maker on that particular dispute that will settle it. So I said that issue can be settled by the Supreme Court, and we will abide by the decision of the Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
Actually, sir, hindi yun ang ikinasasama ng loob niya. Ang ikinasasama ng loob niya is parang after you brush him off and dismiss him as not qualified, parang ganun, biglang alokan niyo siya ng Senate position.
Senator.
Parang I think he found that a bit belittling or insulting.
Well, people just nominate. If somebody nominates him, I cannot on my own say hindi pwede. It goes through a process. And if you are nominated, we have to write you, do you accept? And that's exactly what we did. I mean, I cannot turn it down myself, even if I don't want it. It has to go through a process. I'm not the sole decision maker. So that went to the process. Somebody nominated him.
So, may nadagdag na ba sa lineup ninyo, possible candidates? Justice,
We still
for
have three.
example? Yes.
We have 3 for the presidency
Yes.
and about 24 for the Senate.
So yung three, that's Vice President Leni Robredo,
Trillanes.
Senator Trillanes, sino pa yung pangatlo?
Brother Eddie,
Brother Eddie. Wala pang nadadagdag nga.
wala pa.
Yes, sir. So, sir, si Chel Jokno, talagang hindi pa siya, umatras na siya or hindi lang siya?
No,
nastido?
he's listed and he accepted as vice.
As vice,
Vice.
okay.
Okay.
And then
Si Senator Gordon, did you ever consider him? Does he have to apply? Does he have to be nominated? Or you consider him administration?
Well, we talked to him,
Yes.
but he's thinking also. He has not. We have not reached an agreement yet.
Kasi sabi niya, bata pa daw siya, inaamin daw niya, pangarap daw niya maging presidente.
Di ba? Inamin niya yun.
He's not shy at all.
Yeah. So I think
He's
it's
looking
just
for his
super
vice
party.
president.
Have you at least among yourselves come up with a consensus as to your ideal one? I mean, meaning, if they were to accept, if they were all, I mean, if they were all accepting of your nomination, who do you see is shaping up to be the winner? Kumbaga.
Well, I'm sorry I cannot discuss that because we have to go through a process.
Fishing.
Yeah.
Sir, let me circle back to Ping Lacson. Of course, yung anti-terror law petitions are still pending with the Supreme Court. And once the Supreme Court decides, my question has to do with that. If the Supreme Court, for example, decides to uphold the anti-terror law, could that have any bearing or impact on Sambayan's view of the suitability of Ping Lacson, if at all, if there could be any change at all?
Well, that would be the individual decision of the conveners, because we will vote in every case whether to accept a person as our candidate or not. So I cannot speak because we have all one vote. We're about 23.
Yes, sir. What about you, sir? You personally, what would your vote be?
Well, I will wait for the discussion and I will make my
Wala pa rin.
decision at that point.
Fishing ka rin, Ed eh. Fishing ka rin eh.
Pero
Wala
ano,
tayo masungkit eh.
how soon can the public know? Kasi ang lapit-lapit na October 1 to 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
How
it
many
could
weeks
be
away?
September because people want to delay it because,
Lahat
as I
na
said,
nagbibigay eh.
they don't want to come out now because the trolls will pounce on them.
Yeah. Eh, nagpa-pounce na rin naman eh. Bakit hindi?
Kahit na,
But won't you need more preparations? Hindi ba? Isn't that too late na? Sabi nga ni Senator Trillanes, you need funding now kahit magbulungan muna daw kayo kung sino yung desisyon.
Well,
Para
those
yung
who
logistics
really-
maihanda na.
Those who really want to run are already preparing.
Yes. Ah.
kaya nga, but
Oh, you have an
nobody's
idea na.
expressing
Kung sino. So sa opposition, you must have an idea na kung sino ang may gusto talaga. If you
Well,
are
we really have to go to the process and I cannot speak for 23 people.
Fishing din si Ami. Although sir, there might be some logic din in getting the trolls out early kasi ubusan ng pera din yan eh. So
Yun nga eh.
they're also paid. Yeah.
Yeah, especially now you have to use social media and TV and radio to campaign because you cannot have rallies.
yes sir.
Yes.
Will Isang Bayan also be deeply involved in the campaign, in fundraising, in the messaging? Kasama din ba yun?
Yes, because we are a coalition, so there will be a campaign machinery for the entire coalition. But each candidate, because they belong to a political party, will have their own campaign machinery also. So we will be coordinating with the campaign machinery of each candidate.
It has to be a common message. Huh?
Yes, I think the moment there's a unified slate, there will be a common message.
What about in fundraising? Can you do it independently? Can the coalition, can Isang Bayan do it independently?
Well, you know, as usual, the donors, the big donors, will talk to the candidate himself or
Directly.
herself.
Yes.
Yes. So, and it depends really. If you have a viable candidate, the donors will come.
Yeah. Okay. Well, retired Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us at nagpapiga kayo sa amin.
Thank you, Justice.
mahaba-haba.
Thank you,
Thank you
Justice.
also.
Walang nakuha. Hindi makapagsalita.
From West Philippine
Wala sa
Sea to
politics.
fishing in politics. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Ingat po.
Okay, bye.
Salamat, sir.
Well, Secretary Silvestre Bello III accepted our invitation to guest for tonight's show. However, the Labor Secretary was not answering our call. And that'll be all for this Friday weekend edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Now, before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Adlin Gao.
I'm Mami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
And I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and we are One News.